Nanette yet, or hear her. There we go. Can you hear me? She was on for a second. She's back. I can see you. You're a
I
little.
can see you.
You're a little perpendicular, vertical, horizontal. I don't know which direction.
How's that? No, hold
Almost.
on.
Now we're going. Nice.
Yikes. No.
Almost.
Almost. Oh dear. Yikes. Okay.
I think we're on.
Oh my goodness. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. A little bit of an echo.
Okay, hold on. I can fix that if you give me one moment.
Sure. Hi, Sissy.
Okay, let's see.
Hey, Joshua.
Okay. Is that any better?
Let's see. It sounds good.
Well, what do you want me to Okay, great.
Do you know Stephanie Finn?
Yes, I know Stephanie through some of the meetings that she used to hold. I don't know her personally, but I know her.
She was on, I think, about 2 weeks ago, and we had some technical issues. And she looked at me and smiled and said, "It's just technical things to forgive. It's just a technical forgiveness lesson."
It is.
So you and I had our own technical forgiveness lesson, and I think we.
I have forgiveness lessons with technology all the time.
Me too. Every day. Nanette, it's nice to meet you.
My pleasure. My honor.
I've been looking forward to this. I've been reading your bio out loud every live stream for about a week now. Almost to the point where I don't exactly know where to dive in because I want to talk about everything. I absolutely love hearing you say on one of your videos that the ecstatic dance is an expression of miracles.
Yes.
What a
Indeed.
beautiful thing to say.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
Because we get so caught in the mental activity, and when the stillness is what we are, comes through as the dance. It's the miracle in motion.
right. Every once in a while, I'm given a pointer that just floors me when I hear it, and that was one of them. It just seemed like a truly beautiful way of describing what you do. Um, so I do want to talk about dance. I do want to talk about A Course in Miracles, as well as the quite a few of the other things that you have practicing. Is there a way to begin where we can tie it all together? How is this a seamless approach for you?
Yeah, it is. Give me a second.
Sure.
The Holy Spirit integrates all of it, and its focal point, I would say, all of these things, and I don't consider myself doing anything. Spirit led me to whatever was occurring at that time. So all of it just becomes integrated and crystallizated into that focal point. What's our seed assignment here, each and every one of us? And how can we be a hollow bone so that the Holy Spirit uses this body temple uh, for whatever
Would you consider?
that, yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You froze for a second, and I thought you had paused, but I don't want to interrupt.
No, so all of these things, the journey of spirit through my life here, not really my life, the life of spirits, and how just life unfolded, everything was a pointer. Uh, it's all a pointer, and it all just becomes really seamlessly integrated. So whether it be neuro-linguistic programming, which is just basically integrated, it's just another pointer. The Silva method, another pointer. But for me, I would say the focal point in the journey is definitely, I think the course for me, A Course in Miracles, is everything. It's a non-dual path that's applied interior wise and then lived out in this dualistic world. And dance is a way of practicing, at least in my journey, to be mostly empty and to be fully present. You're a yogi, and that's the seed assignment for you. For me, dancing began right from the get-go, and that unfolded in my life. with- You
I
know,
can see how when I watched you dance, when I watched you on your YouTube videos, how it seems to be the ultimate act of listening to the Holy Spirit because
yes,
you're not nothing's
yes,
planned. It's all very intuitive, but it's beautifully flowing, um, as if you're not the dancer, you're being danced.
yes, yes. And that's what we're here for. We are here to be danced. I one of my favorite sayings, those that know me, um, don't get up off the operating table and play doctor. Stay and let the divine mystical movement of spirit do you, because this is the issue right here. And the course is just flawless in my view of the tapestry of the unfoldment of all of the obstacles in the way. Very similar to what was here 1400 BC, 1500 BC, 600 BC in the incredible Zen teachings. I see the connection. And so we needed a course to come through in another language because many of us didn't get it.
Um, so really, the ecstatic dance, is a great metaphor for life.
It is.
The more we listen to the Holy Spirit, the more that we are, as you said, being danced through life. Um, it's a beautiful metaphor. We had a question right off the bat from a friend that said, "Do you consider this prana flow?" If we wanted to use yogic terms,
Sure. 100%. Yeah. I experience it moving deeper uh, because I've done a lot of yoga in my journey. And with the ecstatic dance, there's something that occurs that releases cellular somatic, and I know a lot of the yoga, especially Bikram, it, that's been my experience, releases a lot of somatic um, pent up soul compartmentalized gunk, if you will.
right?
And usually after there's been 2 hours, 3 hours of ecstatic dance, there's an integration process a whole week later. And that's where the course comes in to really help with that as well.
Now I know you came to the course in '92, I believe. and then the dance at 2007. When you came to dancing, did you recognize right away that this is Holy Spirit uh, guiding me?
Oh, 100%. But the dancing was ecstatic, and it wasn't something that I was planning on. Uh, the teacher came to me and said, I need you to teach this. And so I just said, well, I won't be teaching. I'll just be letting it happen.
Uh,
So I trusted that, but my whole life's been a dance.
I can see that from the varied um, practices that you've had, starting with psychology. Um,
Mhm.
when you came with your background in psychology and discovered the course, I think there was about a 10 plus years
Mhm.
from when you got your degree in psychology.
Mhm.
Um, was there maybe an intellectual part of you that said, "I don't know about this," or did you just wholeheartedly? Uh,
With the
that
course,
yes.
yeah. 6 months prior to the course coming to me, I didn't go look for it. I was having dreams night after night of reading this book with strange writing. And I'd wake up and I was, what is that? Because the language was kind of different. I didn't know what it was. Uh, and I'd been going through a very dark episode, a very dark night of the soul in my life. And the therapist that she was a spiritual psychotherapist. And she had mentioned to me that she sensed that A Course in Miracles may be a path for me. 2 days later, I wound up in a bookstore and there was a book on a shelf. And it was the only one on the shelf, and it was A Course in Miracles. It was the last book that they had of A Course in Miracles. And when I opened it, I saw that what was there was what I had been reading in the dreams that I was having every night.
Well,
So there was a shudder that went down the back of my spine. And I was clear the Holy Spirit meant business with me.
now, were you prone to mystical experiences prior?
Yes. Yes. Since 5 years old was my first. Yeah.
Um, did you have a Christian background? Was the language of the course in any way like didn't resonate? Did it take a little bit to work through it?
I believe at that point, especially with where the journey had, I mean, there was Christian background, but there was also a lot of metaphysics in my house. My father was, there was a mix of both. There was Catholicism. Um, I have gratitude for that today because I have total reconciliation with the perceptions around that. So
Mhm.
there was some groundedness in that. So there was like that, and it didn't, none of that bothered me with the course, because one thing I understood, especially through the training in neuro-linguistic programming, that which will bother me is the very thing that needs healing. That's the very thing that needs the reframing. The reframing. you know the ego wants to judge and leap out and point the finger at something or somebody, whatever it is, or language. So, no, it didn't bother me.
You know, my own interest in neuro-linguistic programming. Um, I always had the feeling that it had a mystical sense to it that seemed to be
Yes.
unspoken.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the training in the background where that the spirit took me, I was surrounded. Uh, you know, that's where I actually because I was involved with my group, my class, so to speak. There were a lot of ecists at that time in my group, and I was exposed to that, and so I became a part of it for a while because it.
Nanette, I don't know if you can hear me. You froze up.
Is
We froze up a couple times. Frozen up again now.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
we froze up a few times though. Um,
Yeah.
now I see that you environment said what's environment had a question for you. What's an ecus? If you could explain that to him, please.
We don't hear of it too often. It's the sound vibration of the Holy Spirit. It's the movement and sound vibration of the Holy Spirit. And um, it's been so long since I picked up any of the information. So we're talking, I'm really dating myself here. So we're talking in the 80s, late 80s. But it's the astro travel and mostly traveling at night and gaining information from ECK masters, and it's pretty wild. So for me to explain the whole thing would take up a lot.
Right,
So there was very mystical. I was in it for maybe about a year, and it was something that was necessary for me because I was having dreams of temples. I get a lot of communication by the spirit in dreams, and the folks that I was around at the time, they said, one of the things about Eckankar is the dreaming of these being inside of these temples and learning from these ancient masters. I didn't know what was happening, but there the Holy Spirit was bringing a gift of a pointer.
right,
It's pointing. That's all anything does, Eric. Today's lesson, right? Let go of everything. But the Holy Spirit can use things here simply as a pointer, but don't bind up to it.
right. I have a couple of books on Econar in my other room. Uh, as I was, this was right before, I guess, the Course in Miracles for me, and I was searching for that one thing. And when I found the course, I knew it was one thing, but I was still unable to um, get through it for quite some time afterwards. Uh, it's funny. I had a friend who asked me. This was I think I picked up the course around the same time that you did, um, and I'd put it away. I'd pick it up. I'd put it away for quite some time. And a friend and who went to self realization fellowship with me for
Oh
meetings,
yeah, yeah,
Yogananda's
yeah.
classes,
Sure.
and he asked me. We were having coffee. So what is it? What's our path? Do you think it's Buddhism? Do you think it's the Self Realization Fellowship? And he named a couple others. And without hesitation, I said, it's the course. The course will take, I don't know about you, but the course will take me home. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's questioning everything in the truest sense. In all of the mystics, whether it be Eastern or Western, at the depth of what you hear is always entering in to the place of emptiness. Lesson 189. Forget this course, forget everything. Come unto your God with empty hands. The hollow bone. And there's nothing more beautiful than just being a hollow bone, just to be okay with what is right here,
right.
right now.
That's been a big theme with a lot of course teachers we've had up, a lot of healers. Um, they haven't offered a do this and you'll feel better. They have a can you recognize that where you are, this presence, this spaciousness, this awareness is already okay? And can you be okay with what's happening? And that's where the healing begins.
Yes. Yes. We cannot do spiritual bypassing. The ego can use spirituality. In my life, it did because I studied so many things that I didn't want to look at the core wound or the traumas or the codependencies or any of those things until I could walk through and dancing such a beautiful way emotion because if we don't deal with that, it will deal with us. It will
Do
deal
you
with
feel that
us.
with your education and some of your training that you might have developed um, a spiritual ego?
That's interesting. I hear that a lot. I never used to hear that in 1992 or 1995. That's something that I almost want to say the past year I've been hearing about a spiritualized ego. And and it's another term, and that's where uh, I could say from another platform where the ego recuperates itself as something else.
Right.
Okay, so I've heard something like that, but in another genre, so to speak. That's why the only time we have is now, and to be real with what is now, and to not decide that something is I'm this or I'm that. I'm not any of it. Just recently, the past, I guess it was past several months, there's so much that was being gutted out. I got rid of all my crystal bowls. I just went through my dance studio and I just gutted the whole place out. And I gave it to a studio that really needed it because I think what starts to happen is the spiritualized ego can think if it gains more or gets more or does more, that's the spiritualizing of it or the recuperation of the ego again. I'm going to go to another retreat. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to get another degree. Um, ugh, I just, I went through another transformation the past 2 years that was like, "Pfft, just here, take it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I really don't want it. Let me just get where you need me to be. Oh God, where do you need me to be? You do get on the operating table, Nan. That's my short for Nanette. Get on the operating table and stay there. And so I'm mindful of it. And in the day that I'm in, the ego can reconstruct itself with a resentment driving on a freeway.
Sure. It's very insidious, isn't it?
It's absolutely, but it's not what we are. So we're not that. As a dear friend of mine from California always says, we look at what we're not, so what we are becomes available. That's his quote, not mine, but I love it. We look at what we're not, so what we are becomes available. So it's like, oh, anytime there's the me, the my, the I, and there's a recognition, how often is that coming up? The I, the me, the my. Can there be a conversation without it? Wow. There might be no conversation.
You know what you might have? Um, you might have dancing. I think, dancing seems to be a silent conversation. Even with music playing, it's still a silent conversation. Um, you know, when I mentioned the spiritualized ego, what came to mind to me of you is thinking in the course of this conversation how often you've used the metaphor of bowls um, and emptiness. And it seems to me that you are someone who is continuously emptying themselves of concepts and the things that the ego brings in. That as quick as the ego brings in, you are just as quick to allow it to return back to emptiness.
That's not my doing. That's grace through a lot of um, some very serious things of lot of bottoms, a lot of dark nights, a lot of pure. I refer to it as purification by holy and resting in the Holy Spirit and watching it burn off, and feeling like you're going to die in the process.
And that's the course. That's everything right there.
Yeah.
Is everything is turned over um, to the Holy Spirit or whatever symbol resonates. Anyone listening, feel
Right.
free to pick the symbol that works for you.
Exactly. Exactly. We know not. And it's so freeing, and it cracks open the heart space so that when you're interfacing with the world and all the different, Ken Wapnick would always say, listen, we're in God's symphony, and everybody's a different instrument. If you're a harp, be a harp. If you're a guitar, be a guitar. If you're a drum, be a drum, right? And so the real deal is to be able to be that, but also love all the other instruments and know that beyond all the instrument is the truth of God. So we don't have to like everyone, but we definitely can love everyone because there's only one breath coming through 8 billion avatars.
Beautifully said. Um, Nanette, could you explain the simplicity of the course of that we really only have one choice?
Well, yeah, I love that. So when I first read, the beginning, nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists, and herein lies the peace of God. And, in the beginning, it talks about uh, that it was so wild because I remember when I read it, it's like I had a mystical experience because I knew it was true. Like, oh, yeah, we have free will choice. Yeah, yeah, no. You only have a choice when you're going to take the curriculum. And I was like, yes, yes. So there's only one choice: love, love. And the idea that there is another choice is a soft landing so that the ego can just get a little air out of its balloon enough. Oh yeah, free will choice. And yet there's only one, because there's only love. There's only ever been love. There's only been this one holy sacred breath of love breathing us, and outpouring of it 100% of the time. And this other thing that goes on here, it's a matrix of appearing phenomena that wants to pull us into its lower frequencies. When I first saw that movie, The Matrix, it was so, yeah, it made
On point.
sense. Yeah, on point. So there is only one choice. And so we're on a journey to say yes, yes to the dance, yes to the divine dance, and over again,
Um,
you know.
I think the issue that we have in life is we occasionally have these experiences of knowing love, of experiencing love, But then we think that we have the opposite. So we think that love is something that happens on occasion, that mystical experiences is something that happen out of the blue, not realizing that we can actually practice, we can actually have a life in which we continuously turn to the Holy Spirit, which is present in our mind, nowhere else. We don't have to look for it. The search is really over before it even begins.
Yes, 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 absolutely. Absolutely. It absolutely is. This whole time thing is so and I'm sure you might have experienced, time collapses, the idea of time and the Holy Spirit slowly. Uh there's some in the teacher's manual, there's some indication that when it talks about sickness and spontaneous healing, that because we don't understand anything with this, we can't, but there may not be a total healing because it would be too much for the mental mind to handle. So the Holy Spirit, there's a safety net here in this matrix. And so to be respectful, that's why where anybody is, to love them exactly where they believe they are. Um, and love is the only thing that's real. We're each on a different trajectory. And that's why today, when we talk about the course, and there's so much awakening happening now. There's so much in the dualistic sense, conflict as well. So I always invite everyone, can we lay down our arms and just drop into the sacred heart space and really forgive our brothers and sisters. That means political leaders. That means um, other countries. That means everything that we think we know about anything.
Nanette, could you explain everyone when we talk about forgiveness um, through the course, through the language of the course, we're talking about a totally different forgiveness than it has been traditionally taught. Religious and even other forms of spirituality. I know, Buddhism has an emphasis on forgiveness, as does yoga, but it is not to the extent that A Course in Miracles is talking about, which it was almost a Zen state of instant awakening. When you practice it,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
forgiveness
so
is
true.
forgiveness really is instant awakening.
Totally, totally. When we make, and you can see this when you look at certain, and again, it's not, I believe the genuine intention of all beliefs and philosophies originally started with love, and then human condition maybe got into it, whatever. But we often hear about forgiveness and we make the error real. And once you make it real, you're binding it up at the level of form and you're locking it. And this is not course language, although in the original text, they use the term soul. The course does use soul, but not too much in the original teachings. They use it all the time. It locks the dungeon in the soul because yes, they did that. Yeah, they did that. When we think or not think, shall I say, of the omnipotence or the unspeakable truth that is unalterable, eternal, always I amness, it cannot be sinned against. No error can touch it. This is our home. It's untouched. So the course is there, it's going there. Nothing happened in the kingdom, nothing happened in the I amness. It doesn't deny that in the dualistic sense, oh, this crime happened, this murder happened, whatever. But in the forgiveness that the Course is talking about, we're going to where the truth is, and we're acknowledging nothing happened.
which is in non-dual language, it's the direct path home.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And that doesn't mean, Eric, because I work with a lot of people, and I've, alongside mentoring through a lot of trauma work, okay? And to have compassion and to move through it at the dual level. Ken Wapnick would always say, don't apply non duality at the level of form. You'll get all confused and it's not going to work. So we can have tools. The ultimate and the absolute, it never happened. You've been safe at home. When you witness someone where the lights go on, one of the uh, movements of spirit through the individual is that it's like nothing ever happened. Yeah, like nothing ever happened. And it's like, wow, what was this? And it's just, and it just brings you to tears
I
because the
love
matrix
how
pulls us in.
right. Um, I love how Gary Bernard points out pretty consistently about not making it real, which
Yes.
is the way we navigate through life. That when uh, if we recognize guilt, if we recognize a grievance, resentment, if we any of that sin, uh, we're making it real. And of course, as you mentioned, on the level of duality, on the level of form, it feels very real, and no one would deny that. If someone swings at you, duck. Um, but on the level of reality, on the level of mind, love, it's not real. So in our minds, in our heart, we go through life knowing that uh, things we believe our brothers or sisters have done to us never really happened. But on the level of duality, we might want to be watchful. I think it's probably the most difficult thing to convey to people who,
It totally is. It's experiential, nothing but direct experience. And asking the question, who am I? Which is Ramana's, the work of Ramana's self-inquiry, which is so beautiful and blends so beautifully with the Course, and the practicing of that. Who am I? Who am I? And we're not fearful of the darkness or the pain so much. It's the light, because the light in us is so radiant, so bright, so eternal. And that guilt, that unconscious guilt, wants to just tell us, oh no, 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 no. You know, that's not who, and that's what's not us. We are not that. The imposter, if you will, which is not a course term, but it's a term I use. That's the false self or the false nature. Um, we've been duped in this matrix.
right?
We've been duped. Yeah.
Um, when we often talk about the shadow work, and we picture the shadow as all the dark stuff that we projected outwards, which it is. But as you were saying about being afraid of the light, it's also all the good stuff that we're unable to own about ourselves.
Yes. 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 The magnificence. And in a sense, that shadow in the journey, there was a noticing that the shadow was coming out of the misperceptions early on. And these are the trauma wounds that were there. Sometimes, something real simple, but something, kind of when you think about when babies are born, the first trauma is when they get smacked. I don't know if they still do that, but let's really take a look at that. It's like, here you are, take your first breath, whack. And I'm so grateful. My dad was very much a healer, a chiropractor, a holistic doctor, almost for 50 years. So when I came home from the hospital as an infant, the first thing he did is he adjusted my spine
Oh well.
to undo the trauma because he felt it was traumatizing. But that's what the doctors. That's again, I don't know if they still do that, but that that lock that's a soul memory in there. There's so much, and with the course, we're breaking through. It is a fast track because we're breaking through miracles. I believe that.
So I love that you use the word magnificence. How do we reclaim our magnificence?
It's probably, in the reclaiming, it's the memory. It's the memory of that's what we are. Um, in a non-dual sense, it's like yeah, I've heard it said, if you see the Buddha on the side of the road, shoot him because it's not the Buddha, because it's you, right?
Right.
It's you. So it is you. So it would really be the removal of what's not you. I'm not the trauma. I'm not the addiction. I'm not the um, ADHD. I'm not the depression. And that's not to deny that it's happening through the body temple. It's just that that's not the identity of what you are. And at least begin, if only a tiny little bit of willingness to just have a little bit of the aperture or the gap open up to just question the voices, good or bad. They're not you at all. And to just look at what you're not. Huh, I thought I was the character defect. No, that's this isn't a word. This is a word that got made up. It came through. Diseasiness in the planet. Diseasiness. I just don't think it's a word,
No, it should
but
be. We'll make it one. We'll make it
it's
one.
it's a word I use. So the diseasiness, like, okay, that's that. Okay, but that's not your identity because God creates like God is. Love creates like love is. And if we can go back to some basic truths in sacred texts, and there's only four definitives of God. God is love, God is spirit, God is truth, God is light. There's nothing physical or tangible about that. So the truth is love, and love creates like love is. So that, and to just gently invite a person to consider, maybe you're not that.
Right.
You're just not that. And that's a beginning.
I love that you said a little willingness, which is one of my favorite expressions in all of the course. And um, Corinne Zupko, who was up
Oh
not too long
yeah.
ago.
I've known her. Her mother and myself, we used to go to the course, and her stepdad taught a course in miracles for a long time. So
Oh wow.
I known her family since 94, 1990. No, actually, probably earlier than that, 93, 92. Yeah. Yeah, so I know
Had
Corinne.
a wonderful conversation with her, and I love how she
Amazing.
says, "Okay, so you can have a little willingness, but can you have a willingness for a little willingness?
Yeah.
Can you just entertain that?" And I thought that was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. It is just a hair, just a tiny breath. And that we can invite people, working with people and talking to people. You have an audience that you have just for a second, even when say that the body might be appearing to be sick, just for a second, take care of it. Don't deny it, but just for a second, you're not that. And if they can rest for one moment in that holy breath that's breathing them, it's a ray of hope. It's a ray of
S-
hope.
So when we're suffering, when we're in that dark night of the soul, um, why is it so hard to have that little willingness when you would think that we would want to grasp on any little sliver of light that shines through? But it often seems like the last thing that we can muster is any willingness.
That's all the mental activity. The mental activity of the egoic, illusory nature is very. There's a density, yet it's so you personally. So it's sort of this hovering of this lower vibrational frequency that's like, and that's why it's so important to be the hollow bone, to be the message, uh, to just be the example of that, and then invite. So nothing can teach us uh, but the truth of that, which is that radiant light within. Uh, we're in a world, we're not of a world. We need connection, and we need others to remind us that when we're in that dark night, uh, so if there's just a portion of that memory. But the other thing is, when I work with those that are going through that appearing dark night, there's a reframe in a lot of, a lot of the training in NLP. The reframing, it is purification by holy fire. So suffering is sensation. Instead of suffering, the ego gives it the name of suffering. Spirit is nothing, it's just sensation. It's the judgment of what is occurring. And then once it's labeled and interpreted, and then the story, right? So uh, I usually encourage that burning up, there's a burning up happening in that dark night, and the burning, that holy fire, when the gold goes in to burn off the dross, to burn off the impurities. That's what's happening. The ego is melting off, and we need each other to encourage and love and hold space for the one going through, and let them know it doesn't last forever, and yet it doesn't have to be suffering. There's a wonderful gentleman out there. I don't know if it's okay if I mention that here. And These wonderful, wonderful YouTube channels, done some incredible samadhi films. And samadhi, I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Schmidt and that work, Awaken the
Mhm.
World. Absolutely. And the brand new samadhi film that came out called Sadhuna really, really talks about let it burn. Let be in the meditation, and that happens in the dance. Let it burn. Let that dark night, let it burn. And there's been so many dark nights with this. Just let that burn. Let it burn. And then it eases up.
Um, I want to circle back to that dark night in a moment. But one thing I wanted to ask you, I think you're in a unique position, maybe out of most of our guests, um, to explain the ego to people because there's still a lot of confusion. I think because of your background in psychology, um, that psychology gives you a very definite view of the ego, but is um, the course paints a very different picture, even from psychology, even from Freud. Although I've heard
Yeah.
Kenneth Wapnick say that without Freud and his
Helen would not have been able to write the course. Yeah, that was her reference. I think it all can be very sweetly integrated instead of separating it out. Probably take pieces of it all and bring it into this. But I'm just going to ask the Holy Spirit to come through to keep it simple. The ego itself, if you want to think of it in a dualistic term, is almost a child that's lost and misperceived everything and ate off a stinky tree of tunis.
It's a beautiful way of thinking of it, and um, because I think we often take a very forceful view of the ego. That we need to subdue it, get rid of it, annihilate it. Um, and what if we loved our way through it?
He froze for a second.
Yeah. Um, yeah. What if we just loved our way through the ego instead of?
Yeah, yeah, I like that. Yeah, see that there's a beautiful um, poem that was written by a uh, third Zen patriarch. I ordered a bunch of these books because I love to give them as gifts, and it's called the Sen Ming, but it's also Faith Mind.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
okay,
have a copy
and
right back here.
it's just says it. There's the course right there, back 600 BC. If we grasp and start making it bad, we're grasping and we're judging. If we're resisting, it's either grasping or resisting. Neither one of those is going to work. But if we see it's another way or another view, if we see the ego as a child, or maybe we can say the Son, the Holy Christ child inside that wants to be just to come home to what it actually is. So this child lost its way. There's so many um, stories that we have through history, depending on, what philosophy or what religion. Uh, what for the way it moves through me today is I don't look at it as if it's good or bad or anything like that. Let's just say this isn't you. Either it's love or fear. And perfect love casts out all fear. We know where that comes from, but it's the truth. When light hits the shadow, poof.
Right. Nanette, someone has a question, and this might be. Uh, I'll read it, and if you feel that it's something that can be addressed, and if not, if it's something that you think that, well, I'll go ahead and read it. Uh, our friend says, "I have BPD and ADHD, and I don't know what to do anymore. The intrusive, obsessive thoughts take over my mind, and I can't control them."
Yeah, 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 yeah. Wow, yeah. Um, oh, it could be a whole nother workshop. There's a lot to share on that. But the first thing that I can suggest with those issues appearing, there's a lot to it, and where the original, um, underneath the belly of it, where it emanated from. We usually see those types of things coming out of certain types of family systems of origin, which is another topic. But a very simple thing: slow the breath, slow the words being spoken through, and practice simple mindfulness in the moment that you're in, to slow down ever so gently, ever so willingly. Uh, Stay away from anything that's too stimulating until it levels. I believe it can level itself out. I believe the course can really undo ADHD. And I got to be careful with saying that because
Right.
I'm not prescribing, just so you know, family. Um, but it can. But there's some other things uh, to help slow that down. And what I recommend is to, when I work with others, to set up something on a regular basis. These are tools. We don't bind up to the tools. We don't give them great meaning, but we're going to use tools in this matrix here. One of the things is stay away from anything that may be upon the earth that is encouraging a quick speed up. So those that do have those types of things, they're finding it way more challenging than before.
Um,
So
they had
my heart goes out to that individual, and I will. What's their name? If they can, or do they didn't want to say their name?
in the chat, it's NL9453. They had
Well,
mentioned also that it's hard to remember the teachings of the course when they're in the middle of a BDP crisis.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
do you
yeah.
think the dance is a more immediate?
The
Um,
dance can very much knock that loose, and very much, and it can be gentle sometimes. You know, I haven't done a video in a while just because of my schedule, but just a 5 minute, a gentle movement with some, I would recommend, not amped up music, but a melodic rhythmic music, and 5 minutes of it, 10 minutes of it, and just go with the breath and focus on the feet in the dance, bringing focus and awareness, feet on the ground, preferably the wood because it's very grounding. Soaking your feet in salt water is grounding and slows things down as well. Um, so yes, ecstatic dance, absolutely, absolutely.
we we forget the self that we think we are when we're dancing.
You cannot think too much when the body is in its motion, and you know, uh, it, there's such joy. So even those that might experience, they identify with the depression, or it's happening, and the dancing happens, and it knocks it right loose. Yeah.
Um, I come from a background in the 1980s and early 90s of Grateful Dead shows, uh,
Oh yeah,
which
yeah.
were just um, a dance experience nonstop from beginning to the end, and it was all ecstatic dancing. It
Yes.
was everything to do with communicating with the band, communicating with the sound, with the vibrations, and communicating with each other, all in a very silent.
Amazing.
Because even music is occurring in silence. Um,
Yes, 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 absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, my heart, my compassion for that individual. I'm wondering if they've been experiencing it um, more now, because there's just a lot occurring on the earth. I didn't put in that bio there, but a part of my background had been the study of astrology for many decades, many
nice.
decades. Yeah,
They said thank you.
you're welcome. Blessings.
Um, and I can't quite make out what they said. I love the nine solfegos. Are you familiar with that?
I don't know what did say it again.
Um, says I love the nine. I'll have to spell this for you. SOLFFEGIOS. I'm not familiar with that expression.
No, no, no. Yeah, that doesn't ring. Is it a band? Is it a
I
song?
don't think so. If you get a NL, if you get a chance to uh, clarify, we'd appreciate that. And we just had your a friend Environment dropped your link and said he just subscribed to your channel.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
oh,
Thank you. I got to
so
get
he
another dance video out. It's just been I've had some you talk about pain body. I've had some surgeries on my um ankle, and I don't ever recommend getting of going through when something does happen to the body to use it as a spiritual practice to wake up.
right.
Yeah.
Um, and it really is just one more thing to forgive, isn't it? The
Oh, yes. And it's real interesting because the nerve endings in that ankle, and I chose not to take any type of painkillers, um, well, Advil or Tylenol. I woke up the one night and I went to the Holy Spirit, and I was thanking the Holy Spirit for the burning off of some of the unconscious guilt that this was bringing up. I could feel it, like I could almost sense it at the depths of the unconscious. It was so deep. It was so rich in that terrain, and I could feel the light in there also, and it was just, uh so it was amazing in the long run of it all. um yeah.
um, I have been working on forgiving myself for being 60. Uh, I turned 60 in April, and haven't been. I have a high mileage body. Uh, I've competed in a lot of things. For 11 years, I was an ultra runner, um,
Oh,
and I still do almost everything I want to do, but
great.
not as heavy, not as much, and not as long. And
Yeah.
there's still, you know, one of the hardest aspects of the ego is the uh, athlete. I think it was who was it? Was it Young who put those categories of spiritual development? And I think one of them was the athlete. When we identify with the body, uh,
Yeah.
and the body is just an appearance of the ego.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, well, going back to the course, it's what's the body for? It's the use. So we get to repurpose through the
right,
willingness, being the hollow bone. So the course uses the body for the Holy Spirit's purpose, for the extension of love. So then it's repurposed, and now it becomes the vessel. And not that, because I think when we start the course takes you on a tapestry of undoing all of the ego's projections onto the body, but then there's a repurposing where the body's only purpose is to serve love itself. And then there's one part of the course where it says, and then when the Holy Spirit's purpose is over, it gently lays it aside.
right. I just read this morning the course's description of death, how it should be a choice and it should be gentle. I don't remember the
Yes.
exact passage, but it's a beautiful, beautiful description. Um, and of course, I immediately said, "Okay, that's I want that. Uh, that's the way to do it. If I have a choice in the
Yeah,
matter, and perhaps I do."
you do. You do. And it's Holy Spirit in you, as you, indwelling, resting, abiding, more in the stillness. And in the dancing, the dance is happening from that still point. It's yeah, yeah. So 60 is young. I'm 60. I'm going to be 67 in February.
Oh wow.
My birthday, which is so I thought, who knows what it means, not to give it meaning. Uh but part of the journey with the course was the um deep getting to know Helen. There was something in my soul wanted to get to know Helen. So I did read all the autobiographies, Absence of Felicity by Ken Wapnick, and just incredible. Anyway, she died on February 9th.
Your birthday.
Yeah, she died on my birthday.
Interesting. I love those connections.
That's where, given over to the Holy Spirit, it's nothing more than um, something that's marking something within time, but then there's really no time. So you're
I've been
timeless.
my,
You're timeless.
which is excellent news, isn't it?
It totally. Yeah.
Um, my own experience. You mentioning Helen. I've been so steeped in reading and listening to Kenneth Wapnick that um, I have a symbolic, imaginary Ken Wapnick pop in my mind, and uh, very gently, but sometimes sarcastically, correct me uh, as needed, and um, sort of, come on, Eric, you know this. You've been doing this for a long time. You know this. Um, and what it
Yeah.
always comes down to is, again, and I said Gary said this as well, making it real. Um, he always reminds me that I'm confusing my levels, that I am rearranging the effects when I need to be concerning myself with the cause. And there's only one cause.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful that you're listening to Ken. Have you ever listened to his workshop on transformation?
I don't believe so.
You got to listen to that one because it takes you all the way to, he goes through the ladder and all the way to the top of the, it's, and it has to do with Helen's poem, because I have her book. We read this in our Course in Miracle class. At the end, we pick a poem, "The Gifts of God," and these were poems that Helen was scribing during the course. And one of them is called Transformation. And Ken did a beautiful workshop called Transformation. You could probably get it on the website. But very powerful. He's a beautiful teacher. Beautiful teacher.
I would look for that. Um, and I do very much appreciate Ken making his appearance uh, just when I need him the most. Even the
I
sarcasm.
think that's so cool. I think that's so cool. That's a gift. That's a grace.
Um,
That's a
it
grace.
was it was a surprise to
Yeah.
literally hear the voice, and Ken always saying um, effects.
Right.
How long do you want to rearrange the effects for a better result,
Right.
uh, and not go to the cause?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nanette, you mentioned repurpose. What a great gift that is. That everything can be repurposed. Could you offer that um, to the people here?
Yeah. One of my favorite uh practice, it's an ongoing practice, is Holy Spirit, correct my perception. Holy Spirit, correct my perception. I give this to you. I offer this to you as part of the gift of um, love. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. Those are just they're sort of, they dance through me. So the repurposing is where, let's say, um, maybe there's something that I'm being asked to do, and maybe there's an aversion or an egoic aversion, whatever. And but in that moment, Holy Spirit, correct all errors in my mind. Help me to see this through the eyes of Christ. There's lessons that point in that direction, to see through the eyes of love. What is this for? What is this showing me? The repurposing is first, it'll be repurposed when I see what the lesson, because if something is getting repurposed, it's usually something that's uncomfortable, right? Or a judgment.
Right.
So be it's coming up, it's coming out. So it's an opportunity to see what's underneath it. We're never upset for the reason we think, and often maybe what is happening is something that's um, poking at me from, I don't know, maybe when I was 8 years old. Well, that needs to be brought to the altar of divine alchemy. Let's bring it. Let's bring it. So it's all about divine alchemy. It's not about one thing, this or that. That's what he talks about in the workshop of transformation. We go through the correction, and then we move into that place where we're just the indwelling spirit. And then that leaves. And then there's the emptiness again. And it's nothingness. Yeah.
Um, or as Ram Dass said, it's all grist for the mill.
Yes. Yes.
Um, as we begin to wrap things up, two things I wanted to ask you. One, I love thinking of the course as holographic in nature. Uh, you can pull one thing out and you get the entirety of it.
Right.
Um, and maybe 2 months ago, we had Dove Fishman up,
Oh yeah,
and
Dove. Yeah.
I love Dove. He gave me so much. He actually redefined my practice. Um, that some of the stories that he told. One of the things he said that he took lesson 25 as his mantra, as he left a lot of um, the course goes through him now. He doesn't need to keep picking up the book
Right.
and
Right. Right.
doing
Right.
it. Now,
Absolutely.
um,
Absolutely.
but there's certain things that he carries with him. As one as a mantra was lesson 25. I don't know what anything's for, and that has been to keep returning to that has been incredible for me.
Yeah.
Um, do you
Yeah.
have a holographic card that you like to pull out that just brings the whole course to the focus for you?
Yeah. Um, yeah. It always comes to lesson 46. God is the love in which I forgive. And of course, the first line of that is, God doesn't need to forgive because God never condemns. And the basis of that is that forgiveness is needed in this world. It's the opportunity to unhook from the world of form and duality, to return home to where I've never left. So God is the love in which I forgive. So in and of myself, I am nothing in this human suit, in this human condition, in the body temple. It's basically neutral. It really is neither good or bad, because on its own, without the breath coming through, it doesn't have any life. Essentially, there is no life in the body, technically. So God is the love, and that just lets Nan off the hook completely.
It does. I love the what seems to be a dichotomy between that opening, love. God is a love in which I forgive, and then that first sentence that God doesn't need to forgive, and you think, well, then how can that be? And that how can it be is actually the answer. It can't be.
Yeah,
What an amazing,
yeah,
I've been, like I said, I've been 30 plus years, and I'll have, I guess, come up and drop a bombshell on me, uh, that just Okay, wow. Um, and that was one. Just you literally dropped a course bombshell uh, in my heart, and it's going to be reverberating for quite some time. Thank you for that. Um, the last thing, um, and we're going to wrap things up. I'm going to let you go. Is you mentioned I said I wanted to circle back to a dark night of the soul, and you mentioned that you came to the course through suffering, which many people do. I was in a 10-plus year uh, alcoholic days when I discovered the course, and
Mhm.
it gave me the grace to even just a little bit, even reading the course. Sometimes the first 50, sometimes 100, um, sometimes more, sometimes five, and I'd put it away. But it was always planting seeds and a little. Speaking of repurpose, I had a moment where I was given a choice, continuing that and seeing the tragic result that would follow, and stepping in a life of sobriety. And in an instant, I chose sobriety and I never had a drink again. And that was 26 years ago, 27 coming up.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah.
But sometimes we come through suffering, and sometimes we come through the course just for sheer, it just because we're ready for it. Um, Coming from your point of suffering to now, you said you're 67, you've been practicing since 92. How does life look from that path of suffering at the beginning to where you are now at this point? What's the promise of the
Yeah.
course?
The promise of the core, well, it works. In simple terms, it works. The real promise is the return to the freedom of the spirit, the freedom of the divine dance, the freedom to dance exactly as you've been called to dance in this lifetime, and to not take yourself so seriously. I think that's really important, to not take yourself so seriously. I am so grateful, as you're suffering with, or um, darkness within the addiction. I too came from that, and the course. And there was such there, I went, and we don't have time to go into that, but it led me to sobriety. It absolutely did. It absolutely did. And I think one of the biggest promises, and this I would say for me, because there was so much in inherent guilt, through traumas and things, the appearing stories, because stories in themselves just produce guilt. And so the promise of the removal of the unconscious guilt at the soul level, absolutely. Absolutely. That course goes in, I call it Roto-Rooter. Because it's like a Roto-Rooter, and it just yeah. So I would say that I believe, in order also to be a free spirit, there is discipline. And although we hear in non-dual, and we're just hearing it, because again, we're not going to apply non-duality at the level of form. Um, a buddy of mine out in California would say the action figure still needs to be treated. And I love that, because, you know, w- we do have tools to, in some sense, gently, in this, however this is going to sound, and I always share with people, whatever is coming through this body temple, change the words, because I never know what's going to come through this, and it's best if I don't. Um, but you know, the bottom line is that, whatever needs to um, be knocked loose, it will, and to trust the process of how it needs to be. And for me, it's sort of like, this body temple needs to gently be moved into, and this is going to sound probably not coarse, but that's okay too. This body temple needs to be under the domination of the Holy Spirit. And am I willing to be 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 in that dance with the divine at all times? And the answer is
Um,
yes, because I've brushed up against death a couple of times itself, um, almost lost my life a few times. So yeah.
it's a beautiful place to arrive to, isn't it? Um, Remembering to laugh, as you put it. Um, and that really does sum it up, because we got here because we didn't remember to laugh.
Yeah.
Laughter really does bring us home, doesn't it? That sacred laughter.
And don't do a beat down, don't do a judgment, non-judgmental awareness. Oh, you know, I'm going to tell you still today, uh, well, no, not so. We have different types of cabinets, but in the old apartment, we had cabinets that, the fingerprints, because it was shiny black. And I'd be like to my husband, fingerprints again. What's with the fingerprints? And he's like, you having an ego attack? So to laugh, now it's not so bad anymore.
Right.
We take ourselves too seriously. And then what happens is, self can't get out of self as self. So that's selfing. So we're not going to fix anything. That's the kicker, right? So let's just laugh and say, okay, that is, and the responsibility part is the choosing. I only want love because that is what I am. It is what you are. Everybody that's watching this right now, and whether that the head is going crazy, and like that person was sharing about ADHD and other things, um, it's just not who they are. One breath, breathing every one of us, 8 billion avatars, one sacred breath coming through right now. It's
Um,
amazing just to contemplate that.
it is. It is. Coming back to the simplicity that we, the course certainly did seem complicated to me at the beginning. 365 lessons. Am I supposed to remember all of this? Um, but as we work with it, and eventually as we surrender some of the lessons, and we just make that simple choice of what you were saying. Can I choose love? Can I choose love? Can I choose love? Um, Everything gets easier. My life has gotten, things still happen, problems still occur, uh, you know, life, but it is so much easier because I just don't suffer the way I used to. You know, I might grieve. I was a full time caregiver, critical caregiver for my father. Um,
Oh, wow.
I might grieve, but I don't suffer.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
sorry to hear
I
that.
might I might miss my father, but I also know where he resides at all times. Um, so life just gets easier, and I wish everyone knew that it can be that way.
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. This um this egoic system, or we've been living in a haze, and we believe the lie. We believe the lie that we're separate. Yeah. And that's it right there. Um that story in Genesis, which is um it's a metaphysical phenomenon. It's a super historical story, but it always drew me in. Had to find out where it actually came from through a friend of mine who was studying at Seton Hall, Masters of Divinity, and I said, where? And she shared where it came from. It blew me away when she told me the story, and I was like, really? She said, yeah, these were Hebrew mystics. They were mystics, and so you look at, and the course brings that up, the Genesis story. And if we just, if we were to simplify, hey, don't eat, don't eat off of that tree of duality. Just don't eat off of that tree in your thought life, right? Do the thoughts. Don't eat off of it. Just rest. Don't eat off of the tree of life, love.
Hmm.
And just that metaphor, or just meditating on that metaphor, resting with it. Actually, I don't whatever get into the that awareness of the I amness. I amness.
Um, I think that's a good place to end up for tonight. That I amness. I, Nanette, we had a few technical issues throughout. We froze up a few times, um, but so much beauty came through. Uh, I'll be making some shorts and some longer form content, so all the beautiful stuff is going to get out. But would you be willing to? A couple of people asked if you'd come back up. They very much
Of
enjoyed
course.
your
Of
company.
course. Any way to serve, and it's an honor. It's an honor. Your beautiful spirit. It I can sense the energy of the people. I can't explain that, but it just, you have beautiful listeners.
Thank you. Um,
Yeah.
you know, uh, I had one of the early guests, Vicky Poppy, came up,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and after our conversation, she sent me a text and said, "Thank you for finally saying yes to the Holy Spirit's agenda for you, the Holy
Oh
Spirit's
yeah, you
plan."
have. I was gonna. You have a seed assignment, and you're fulfilling the seed assignment. Yes.
Um, what strikes me when I reach out to teachers such as yourself, the big welcoming yes that I get about coming up, because you're truly living the prayer. I'm here only to be truly helpful, and I see it. Uh, and in this conversation, I see it in the videos that you made, and I saw it in that big. Of course, I'll come up. Um, so I just want to thank you for that. I want to thank you uh, for saying yes, for everything that you've done since you picked up the course. Uh, just thank you.
I want to say that all of that is by the Holy Spirit, through the Holy Spirit. It's, honestly, yeah, no, I can't do anything myself. Seriously.
And I'm always left. Um, you've mentioned that several times in the conversation, and I'm always left thinking, and that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Uh, because I've made me, Eric, the ego, I've made a complete mess out of virtually everything I've ever laid my thoughts upon. Um, but when I can choose, when I remember to choose, um, everything's great.
yeah. And it's only in this moment, in this present moment, that choice, so it's when, now, where am I now? Now. Um, something came through the other day, and then we're gonna close out. But I want to share this with the audience. If we're fully present, just here now, the ego, the dis-ease, will never know our plans. There's no plans. You know what I'm saying? It's so in now we're always safe.
Beautiful. I'm glad that I'm glad that we extended a few more minutes because uh, that was that was a beautiful way of saying goodnight. That in this now.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. Blessings. Love you,
Guys,
family.
I will see you at 5 a.m. If you're around. Take care.